Another thing I have tried to reflect upon in terms of my return to exercise is it needs to be realistic with my current life and my work situation. There's no point looking at your calendar and seeing blank spots, and you've got 8 blank spots across the week, so you put 8 instances of exercise in there if you're starting from scratch. It's probably not going to happen. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you will do it. Hi there, and a warm welcome to the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm Dr. Bree Hearn, host and general nerd about all things habits. Over my 20 plus years working as a writer, educator, researcher, keynote speaker, and coach, I've realized that habits influence everything from our health to our productivity and even our relationships. It was Aristotle, in fact, who said we become what we repeatedly do. On this podcast, you'll learn from inspiring experts as they share the habits and systems that help them live happily, healthily, and to achieve enormous success in their chosen fields. Thanks for being here. I do hope that you enjoy the episode. Hi there, and a big warm welcome and thank you for joining me today on the Habit Nerd podcast. Before we jump into what I think will be a fairly short episode today, I would like to just give you a message. Part of my work as the Habit Nerd is to facilitate workshops and to give keynote style speeches. I've been delivering these to teams and to organizations, even some schools actually. So if you are somebody who can see value in hearing how research-backed habit formation and habit maintenance can help with health and therefore high performance, and you would like me to come and facilitate a workshop or a speech at a conference that you might be having, or just to invest in your people where you work, I would love to hear from you. So get in touch via Instagram, DM at The Habit Nerd, and I look forward to crafting something with you that can hit the right message for your context. So as I said today, Habit Nerds, it's going to be a brief episode and it's going to be a personal story actually. Those people who know me know that I, at the beginning of the year, underwent major surgery. And it was a scheduled surgery, but it meant that after the surgery, I needed to take 4 months off exercise and a couple of months off work. And even though it's almost 5 months down the track now, I'm still a little bit limited in my capacity and my capabilities, even though my recovery is right on track and I'm doing exceptionally well. What I thought it might be helpful to talk to is my return to exercise. Now, basically, when you take 5 months off, as you can imagine, it's a sort of like starting from scratch. And so I was wondering for my audience if it might be helpful, and I hope that you agree that it is, that I could frame this story around principles of habit formation and maintenance. And given that exercise is sort of an example that is common amongst our community of a healthy habit that people would like to embed or would like to increase in their own life, it is also sort of an example that could be mapped onto any different example. So it might be something around your work or your relationships. It doesn't have to be a return to exercise or starting an exercise habit, but that's the story that I've chosen to map these principles on today in the hope that an example makes the science a little bit easier to digest and easier to understand. So the first step, Habit Nerds, is always to seek some introspection and to have a think about you as an individual in the world with your own unique way of looking at the world, your own unique paradigm, your own unique lens. Why is the habit important to you? So this motivation piece. It's about knowing your why, what the purpose is, because without this piece, you might choose a habit that is motivated by somebody else, or you might choose a piece that isn't particularly important to you, and therefore the habit is less likely to become embedded and sustained and then part of your ongoing identity. So for me, my motivation for exercise, and this is different for everyone, and this is why it is important to do this thinking. My motivation for exercise is to feel well. Now, I have got a few nervous system issues as a residual effect of chronic fatigue syndrome or myalgic encephalitis in my late 20s. So a baseline maintenance, a baseline foundation of exercise for me is really important. Exercise is also important for me because I really recognize the link to my mental health and my mental wellness when I am moving my body. So I try and aim for movement every day because I really notice A, I'm better when I exercise, and B, I'm not good when I don't exercise, meaning I feel my energy is lower and my overall outlook and how positive or negative I am towards my work or situations that I come across in the day or my family or just my general outlook is more positive if I have engaged in the dopamine and the endorphin raising activities that exercise brings. As I am getting older, I understand the physical benefits of exercise for things like bone health, things like muscle retention and maintenance, and probably the low on the motivation, but certainly part of my motivation is that I want to physically feel like I am comfortable in my clothes. So I want to look a certain picture of health, and that picture of health requires some resistance training and some cardio training, and I suppose maintenance of a healthy weight, and not just how I look in that sense, but then obviously all of the health benefits where I'm able to avoid things like heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, all of the things that come from being overweight or being unhealthy in your body. So my motivation to return to exercise is all of those things. I would invite you, if exercise is a habit you would like to increase or make modifications to, or even start, as the case may be, really do that important piece of self-reflection. What is your why? The next thing I reflect on here is the type of exercise. You will not do exercise if you don't enjoy the exercise. Now, I know that there would be people out there listening who don't enjoy any form of exercise. So I, in your case, would suggest that you somehow gamify the exercise, or you somehow pair it with something that you do like to do as a bit of a temptation bundle. Because for me, I have tried exercise over the years that I was doing because I felt I should do, or because someone else had told me that it was good, or that I felt I had to do, and I didn't enjoy it, so therefore I stopped. So I have a colleague at work, and she said to me a few years ago, "Oh, I'm going to start running with my husband. We're going to start small. We're going to walk and then run and then walk and then run." And she was rolling her eyes and really dreading this activity with her husband. And I said, why are you choosing that exercise? And she said, "Oh, I don't know, because he said it's good, and you know, we have to do something." And she was really unmotivated and really not looking forward to the activity. No surprise, no spoilers. That lasted about 3 runs or 3 instances of that exercise before she gave it up. I was speaking to her a couple of months ago, and she has started Pilates, Reformer Pilates. It has opened up in her home suburb, and she is going consistently and absolutely loving it. Now, it's the chicken and the egg. She went because she thought she would enjoy it. She's enjoying it, so she'll continue going. So that's just an example of the importance of connecting an exercise to something that you are naturally going to look forward to as much as you possibly can and enjoy, because therefore the habit will have a better chance of sticking. My friend at work now, it's unusual if she doesn't go. She's started to have that habit of Pilates as a part of her weekly schedule and it's put in her calendar like any other meeting, and she's really happy to keep doing that because it suits her and it's something that she, as I said, enjoys doing. Now, another thing I have tried to reflect upon in terms of my return to exercise is it needs to be realistic with my current life and my work situation. There's no point looking at your calendar and seeing blank spots and you've got 8 blank spots across the week, so you put 8 instances of exercise in there if you're starting from scratch. It's probably not going to happen. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you will do it. So I would really reflect on this in my own life and encourage others to do the same. It needs to be realistic with what you can fit in. Because every time, as we know, we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. So if you're setting the bar too high for yourself and you are saying, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week, and realistically, with your life responsibilities, with your family responsibilities, with the hours that you need to work and you need to factor in commute time and, there might be some travel, or maybe you've got meetings with, people from other time zones. All of these factors need to be considered when embedding a exercise habit because it has to fit quite naturally into what you would already see as the crucial responsibilities that you've got across the week. So therefore, I would suggest, and the science would support, starting quite small with a couple of instances a week. Once you see that that is maintainable, you've got the evidence that you are the type of person who could fit 3 or 4 instances of exercise in, after a couple of weeks, go for it. But start small, prove to yourself that you can do that and that that is manageable before you increase that. Now, for me, I probably should have said the type of exercise that I am choosing to return to or choosing to start in this instance is to attend a gym, but there are a few caveats here. I want to work in a small group training scenario. I don't want to just go to the gym floor and be given a program and enact that myself. I want to mix resistance or weight training with some cardio training for all of the health reasons that I talked about earlier. And I want the accountability of the group, but I don't want it to be one-on-one. I want to have the social aspect of other gym members alongside relating to them and relating to the trainer. Now, one of the barriers that gets in our way when we're starting a new habit is that our environment does not suit the embedding or the maintenance or the sustenance of that new habit. So in my gym example, I needed to hack my environment to make it super easy. The first thing was the gym has to be realistically close enough to my house that I can get to it without the barrier of distance or time, because like everybody, I am juggling multiple priorities. Time is precious. Another thing was I would like to exercise first thing in the morning. A barrier for me getting up once my alarm goes off at 5:30 would be if I didn't have everything ready at my fingertips to go. So I've been able to hack my environment to really overcome any potential hurdle that may be put in my place. An example would be I've always got enough petrol in my car. There's nobody parked behind me in the morning. Another thing would be my drink bottle is already filled up and at the front door, so I can just grab it and go. Another thing to hack my environment so that I can get to the gym without any barriers, without any hurdles, is I have my gym gear, and I'm talking everything down to my socks and underwear, folded next to my bed so that I roll out of bed, I take off my pajamas, I put on my gym clothes. So there is absolutely no barrier to me getting into the gym at that time of the morning because my environment is really supporting that. You can imagine the inverse of that if I had my gym tights, but I didn't know where my top was. if I had my shoes, but I didn't have the socks that I like to wear for comfort with those shoes. These would all be reasons, particularly at that time of the morning, that I might A, run out of time, or B, just hit the snooze because it's just too hard basket. There's just too many barriers in my place. So really environmentally make it easy for yourself. And that's something that I'm trying to do. And those really small little rituals, they say the day starts the night before, starting the night before so that I reduce any friction between me and my desired behavior, which is gym attendance, has been really helpful. Now, I also booked myself in to my gym. I'm really lucky to have an app that my gym adheres to. I know a lot of group exercise would be the same because that's how they manage their attendance. There's something for me about the accountability of telling people that I'm going to be somewhere, and almost an inverse sense of embarrassment if I don't turn up. Of course, life happens. Sometimes my kids get sick. Sometimes, something will happen and, I've got a meeting invite or something happens with work that I can't quite fit the gym in, or I'm not well, or I haven't slept well. That's all life and that happens. But if all of the barriers are out of my way and the only thing standing in my way to get there is my own willpower, I need to not rely on that. I need to have the other systems in place so that willpower, which is an exhaustible resource, is not all that I'm relying on. And one of those things is I understand that the people at my gym, so that my gym owners have got Bree written down next to the 6 a.m. class and they're looking for me. So if I don't go, and maybe one of my friends at the gym will say, oh, Bree's not here, I hope she's okay. Or they might reach out to me during the day. And there's that sense of social accountability, but also it's important to me to do what I say I'm going to do in terms of integrity is a high value of mine. And I try and be trustworthy and I try and follow through as much as I possibly can. As I said, life happens and we don't want to set impossible expectations on ourselves, but as much as I possibly can in my life, in my work, in my relationships, and that includes an exercise habit, I like to be the type of person who follows through with what they said they're going to do. So therefore, that's evidence for me of that identity piece that is important. If I book in and I actually turn up, then I'm getting that mini little bit of feedback and celebration and endorsement of that personality trait that I'm trying to continue. Now, I was nervous going back to the gym. I was nervous for a whole range of reasons. Obviously, it was a return. So people at the gym would have known me as one thing, as in one level of fitness. And then I was going back after 4 months break, not that level of fitness, obviously, because from someone who was working out 3 or 4 days a week and moving, so, walking the dog and being quite active every day of the week, to go from that to nothing for 4 months was significant on my body and my fitness took a hit. So I had some self-image issues returning to the gym. And I know this is common in our community. So I just really want to acknowledge that feeling. I took 4 months off. Some people take 6 years off, and it is really hard to walk back through the door. So I did need a little bit of self-compassion and a little bit of self-kindness. And I would hope that you habit nerds would offer yourself that same compassion and kindness, that it's hard to start something new. The way I got over that was one tiny step at a time. So instead of getting myself in a state and thinking, how am I going to lift those weights? I am going to be so slow on the exercise bike. There's so much that I'm not able to do, or that I used to be able to do and I can't anymore, or that I need to build back up to. Instead of getting myself in an anxious state about that, I told myself that all I had to do was park my car, walk in the door, and say hello. And I was really nervous. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I was nervous booking in. I was nervous first time driving to the gym, and I was really nervous walking in and saying hello. Now, the reason it made it much easier, I was really lucky enough to see some happy, familiar faces who gave me a really warm welcome when I walked in, and that made it easier. The other thing is, what we resist persists. So if we try and push something down, it will inevitably come up. So I'm really aware of this, and I'm really aware in habit formation and in behavioral science that the more awareness that we can bring to something and the more we can just call it out for what it is, the less scary it becomes and the smaller that problem becomes. So I actually said to the trainer, I'm feeling a bit nervous. I said, I'm nervous because it's been a long time, and I'm a bit nervous about the restrictions that I have on my body as I'm returning to exercise after surgery. And I'm nervous that I hope I know when to stop. I hope my body gives me the cues that something is too tricky or too heavy, or I'm not quite up to that. And even just naming that I was feeling a bit apprehensive about it really did diminish the power that thought had over me. And my trainer really made me feel better and just said, we'll just go really slow. We'll do what you can. We'll keep monitoring. And that was all I needed. I just needed to take the first step, walk through the door and say hello. And I needed to be honest and say, I'm feeling a bit nervous. And I said it to my trainer. I also said it to a couple of the people that I was training with. And there was something about just really being honest and authentic and admitting that made me feel like, okay, it's not that scary. I can do this. So obviously it's about doing anything is about doing it a day at a time and building really slowly. And about 3 or 4 weeks down now, since I did step through that gym door for the first time, I am building slowly. Slowly is the word, and I'm okay with that, but I am building. I'm lifting a tiny little bit heavier, and I've got more confidence that I can trust my own body and I can trust my own sensibility about what is relevant, appropriate, and sensible to do. And I'm getting a tiny little bit stronger each week or each kind of fortnight that I'm getting under my belt. It was really important, habit nerds, to do some post-reflection. Now, all of us, when we're trying to embed a new habit, need to be brave enough to sit in the reality of, is this habit serving me? And how is this habit making me feel? Because if you're feeling shame, if it feels wrong, if it feels like something that you need to change, you are under no obligation to continue something if it's not suiting you. But in the case of my exercise habit, I gave myself that time to sit, and I'm still doing this actually, and think about how the exercise is making me feel. Is it fitting in with my current situation? What is it bringing? What are the challenges that are coming with it? And that way that it sits in my body when I think about it, and I do feel a sense of it's getting easier. I feel a sense of pride about it. That's important feedback for me that I am on the right track. And it is important, habit nerds, to celebrate your small wins. And some people in the behavior change world call this streaking. So it might be that you track how often you go, you give yourself a tick. For me, it's in my calendar. It's pink. I can see how many days a week that I have gone to the gym, and I can look at a month and see how consistent I've been. So that is nice feedback for me. And the way that's making me feel, it feels most like myself, because I want to be the type of person who exercises consistently. I want to be the sort of person who moves my body. And I want to be the sort of person who it would be unusual not to move my body. I feel a great sense of gratitude for my health, and a great sense of gratitude for everything that exercise does for me, my mental and my physical state. So Therefore, the identity piece there would be unusual in time if I didn't exercise. So all of that reflection about you and how it's matching and aligning with your current identity and the person that you're trying to show up as in the world will give you that really important information, that feedback to either keep going or to make some small changes. And the last thing, habit nerds, that might be helpful for you to think about in terms of forming a new habit, and it's been the case for me with this exercise habit, is you can pair something that you find tricky or new or difficult with something that you already like. This is called temptation bundling. It's as simple as getting a reward for what you're doing. Now, there is a caveat here. I have a health-based reward, so it wouldn't make sense if on the way home from the gym, I stopped and got a donut. What I do is I go to the coffee shop and I get a coffee. And so on the hardest and the coldest of days, when I would love to stay in bed, sometimes, and I'm sorry to my gym friends that are listening to this and trainers, all of the excellent environment that they've set up, and as much as I love their company, it is actually the coffee that gets me there. And that's okay. That's okay to reflect upon that. Whatever gets you through the door is okay. But for me, that's about pairing something that is new and tricky with something that I love. And there's some positive intrinsic feedback there, because by the time I get to the coffee shop, I order my coffee, have a nice chat to the barista, and I bring it home. It's almost like a little intrinsic tick. You're on the right track, Brie. You get this reward for showing up as you said you were going to show up, and for doing something hard when you could have stayed in bed. And this is called temptation bundling because it's also helpful to pair something you don't like doing with something you do like. There are 100 examples of this, but some people like to fold washing while they watch their favorite movie. Some people like to, I've heard Amantha Imber actually from the How I Work podcast, hilarious. She loves The Bachelor and The American Bachelor in particular. And she will only allow herself to watch The Bachelor if she's on her exercise bike. So she's got the iPad connected to the bike, and she's only allowed to watch that trashy show if she does a workout. There are a number of ways that you can pair something you don't like doing or something that you're going to find hard with a reward. And I would invite you, if there is something tricky that you are trying and you know it would be quote unquote good for you, or the right habit for you to embed for your health or your harmony or relationship or high performance, to think about, can you stack it, can you bundle it with something that is rewarding for you? And that might be the thing that gets you over the hurdle. So habit nerds, I hope you got something, at least one small thing, from my story about returning to exercise. I told you the story with lots and lots of behavioral science tips woven throughout it. So I hope that was nice and clear for you. And I hope that some of the strategies that I've used to embed this habit and to continue and maintain this habit, you are able to map onto your own life and to your efforts to put a system in place to keep a new habit going. And I hope, I wish you all the best with it. Make sure you reach out to me on The Habit Nerd on Instagram with any feedback. Let me know what your habit's going to be, and I will be there cheering you along. And just a reminder before I do go of the workshops and the keynote speeches that I have started dipping my toe into. I have been receiving really great feedback. People are connecting with the science and the practicality link that I bring to this work. Somebody with an academic background, but hopefully somebody that connects with audiences, with warmth and with practicality and with, relevance. I would be delighted to hear from you if you think it's something that you or your organization or a school or a company that you're involved with could benefit from. And I will say a final thanks for your company, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Habit Nerd. I hope you found some new inspiration, learned something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you did enjoy the episode, I would be really grateful if you could please leave a 5-star review, as it helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it should only take you 5 seconds. If you're keen for more tips and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow Habit Nerd.